The new US Dietary Guidelines just dropped, and there's a simple problem. They recommend foods like butter, full-fat dairy, and beef, but they also say saturated fat should stay under 10%. So today, I'll show you where the math gets confusing, and in 60 seconds, I'll give you a simple 50-plus real food filter you can screenshot and use today. No apps, no calorie counting. Because in your 50s and beyond, food isn't just about weight. It's about maintaining strength, keeping your balance, stabilizing blood sugar, and protecting your heart and brain. It's about feeling steady when you stand up, being strong enough to carry your groceries, and having energy that doesn't nosedive at 3 p.m. And if you've ever tried to follow the rules only to end up confused, you're not alone. The guidelines are trying to keep things simple. The main message is basically this: eat real food, get enough protein, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, and cut back on added sugar and ultra-processed foods. If you stopped right there, you'd already be heading in the right direction.
The problem is that a few details send mixed signals, and mixed signals make people give up. Let me give you 3 quick examples. First, fat. In one section, the document says healthy fats can include meat, poultry, eggs, and full-fat dairy. And for cooking, it mentions olive oil, but also butter and beef tallow. Then it turns around and says saturated fat should stay under 10% of your daily calories. That's where things get tricky. The exact numbers vary by portion and product. The point is how fast it adds up. If you're eating full-fat dairy, cheese, butter, or tallow, and fatty cuts of meat, you can blow through that saturated fat limit pretty quickly. And the guide doesn't really show you how to make those two pieces fit together in real life. Second, sugar. The guide says no amount of added sugar is recommended, but then it also gives you a per meal limit, like 10 grams per meal. That's not necessarily wrong as a practical boundary, but as messaging, it's confusing. Is the goal 0, or is the goal staying under a limit? When guidance sounds absolute, but feels vague in practice, people tune out. Third, the pyramid and portions. A pyramid is supposed to visually communicate, eat more of this and less of that. But when you actually look at the written serving sizes for different food groups, the visual doesn't always line up with what's on the page. And once again, the result is confusion. Not because you can't figure it out, but because the guidance wasn't built for a normal person trying to eat on a normal Tuesday. Now, here's the bigger truth, and this is what really matters. America didn't become unhealthy because an old food pyramid was slightly off. The real issue is that most people weren't following the guidelines in the first place. Real life is expensive, busy, stressful, and packed with ultra-processed convenience foods. So instead of arguing over the perfect document, the real question is, can we translate this into something simple people will actually do, especially after 50? That's what we're doing right now. I call it the 50-plus real food filter. 4 rules. Simple. If you follow these, you'll get most of the benefits of eating real food without getting tangled up in contradictions. Rule 1. Protein anchor. Start every meal with a protein anchor. Not because you're trying to become a bodybuilder, but because after 50, muscle is your independence. Protein stabilizes your appetite, supports tissue repair, and makes it easier to avoid constant snacking. You don't need to calculate grams per kilogram, just use a simple visual. At lunch and dinner, aim for a palm-sized portion of protein. At breakfast, something smaller, but real. Think eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, chicken, beans and lentils, tofu, cottage cheese, or lean meat. If you want one line to remember, protein first, then the rest. And if heart health is your top concern, I've got a full breakdown on heart protective choices. It's right here if you want it.
Rule 2. Fat. Pick one. This is the rule that solves the saturated fat math problem without needing a spreadsheet. Pick 1 added fat per meal, not 3, 1. Because the issue isn't that butter is bad or olive oil is magic. The issue is stacking fats. A meal can be perfectly healthy and still turn into a saturated fat bomb if you cook in butter, add cheese, and choose a fatty cut of meat all at once. So here's the filter. If your meal already includes a higher fat animal food, like full-fat dairy, cheese, or a marbled cut of meat, then don't pile on butter or tallow on top of that. Pick 1 fat source per meal. If you're eating lean protein like fish or chicken breast with lots of vegetables, olive oil is a great choice for your 1 fat. If you love butter, use a little, but then keep the rest of the meal leaner. That's how you make the guidelines limit actually realistic.
Rule 3. Carbs with a job. Carbs aren't the enemy, but after 50, they work better when they serve a purpose. Carbs should have a job: fuel movement, support your training, or deliver fiber and micronutrients. That means your carbs should mostly come from whole, minimally processed sources like fruit, legumes, oats, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and real whole grains. Here's the simple rule: include one fist-sized portion of carbs at lunch or dinner, not necessarily both, unless you're very active. If you're walking a lot, lifting weights, or building strength, you can comfortably have carbs twice a day. If you're more sedentary and your goal is fat loss or better blood sugar control, stick to one. And if you want to see how traditional longevity cultures handle this without obsessing over it, Okinawa is a perfect example. I'll put it here.
Rule 4. Sugar as a choice, not a leak. Most people don't eat sugar as a deliberate choice. It just leaks into the day through cereal, sauces, coffee drinks, healthy bars, and snacks. So instead of worrying about 10 grams per meal, use a rule that's much easier to follow. One sweet moment per day, not all day long. That means if you want something sweet, choose it intentionally. Enjoy it, then move on. The rest of your day stays simple. Bonus, if you cut back on added sugar, you don't have to replace it with artificial sweeteners to succeed.
You can lean into naturally sweet foods like fruit, cinnamon, vanilla, and over time, your cravings will settle down. Now let's make this ridiculously practical. Here's the simplest way to remember it, and you can screenshot this.
Protein, plants, 1 fat, optional carb. That's the whole filter.
Now here are 3 ready-to-use meals you can start with today. Meal 1, breakfast. 2 eggs plus a bowl of Greek yogurt with berries. If you want extra fiber, add a small spoonful of chia seeds or a small portion of oats. That gives you a protein anchor, real carbs with a job, and very little sugar creep. If you don't eat eggs, swap in tofu scramble or cottage cheese.
Meal 2, lunch. Salmon or sardines, a big salad or cooked vegetables, and 1 added fat, olive oil. Then add 1 fist-sized portion of carbs if you like, a small potato, beans, or a serving of oats or brown rice. This meal supports heart health, delivers solid protein, and keeps your energy stable.
Meal 3, dinner. A bowl you can customize endlessly. Chicken or beans for your protein anchor, vegetables for volume, and 1 fat choice, like avocado or olive oil. If you already used avocado, don't also add cheese and cook everything in butter. Pick one. Then add a carb portion only if it has a job. You're moving, training, or you just want a bit more satiety. If you stick to just this, protein anchor, pick 1 fat, carbs with a job, sugar as a choice, you'll already be eating real food in a way that's consistent, practical, and supports longevity. Now, a quick note about the guidelines themselves. If a guideline creates contradictions that confuse everyday people, it's missing the point. People don't need perfection. They need clarity. And most of the time, the best clarity doesn't come from another rule. It comes from a simple filter that helps you make decisions about actual meals. If you want to follow up, tell me which one you want next. Protein after 50, the saturated fat contradiction, sugar and sweeteners, or how these guidelines are made. And if you want a simple, everyday food pattern, watch my Okinawa video next. And if heart protection after 50 is your priority, watch this heart video.